Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie starts with a guy named Mike, who's on his way to the gym. Mike is a professional in martial arts and had competed in many matches before, but 6 months ago, he suffered a shoulder injury that forced him to stop playing. Since he had to stay home, his financial situation got really bad, so bad that he couldn't even afford to pay his rent. So, he decided to fight again to make some money. Mike arrives at the gym and tries to convince Vince, the gym owner, to let him fight for him again. But Vince refuses, saying Mike's injury needs more time to heal. Plus, Mike's getting older, and it would be tough for him to get back to his previous level. Mike then suggests a deal. He'll fight Vince's best fighter, and if he wins, he gets to fight for Vince again. If he loses, he'll retire for good. Vince agrees and calls out his best fighter. The match starts, and both fighters are evenly matched because they're both professionals. Thanks to his experience, Mike manages to knock his opponent to the ground and thinks he's won. But suddenly, the other fighter turns the tables, takes Mike down, and locks him in a chokehold until Mike passes out. Mike loses. When Mike wakes up, he realizes his fighting career is truly over and it's time to find a new path. He goes back to his apartment, packs up his belongings, and decides to move to another city to start fresh, far away from the fighting world. Since he has no money to rent an apartment, he ends up sleeping in his car. The next day, Mike applies for a construction job. Luckily, there's an opening at a hospital site where they're demolishing an old building. Mike accepts the job, and the staff tells him he can start the next day. When he reports for work, he gets his work ID and meets the crew. One of the workers, named Diaz, quickly becomes Mike's friend because they'll be working closely together. Diaz tells Mike he's married, has 2 kids, and grew up in an orphanage that used to be in that same hospital before it was abandoned. That's why Diaz volunteered to work on the site. Diaz also recognizes Mike because he had seen him fight before. After work, Mike and Diaz often hang out before Diaz goes home, while Mike continues sleeping in his car. Meanwhile, there's Erickson, a prison guard in the city who lives alone with his only daughter after losing his wife a few years ago. Erickson spends all his time working and taking care of his daughter, who's battling late-stage cancer. To help her while he's working, he hired a nurse. One night, after checking on his daughter, Erickson calls the insurance company to request funds for his daughter's medicine and to cover the nurse's salary. He tells the insurance agent that the hospital said his daughter needs a surgery costing $450,000, but the company will only cover $50,000, leaving Erickson responsible for the rest. He gets desperate because even if he sold his house, he wouldn't be able to afford the surgery. He begs the agent for help, but the agent apologizes and ends the call. The next day at the city prison, a fight breaks out between 2 inmates, Delis and Andrew. Delis stabs Andrew in the stomach during the fight. Before they were locked up, Andrew and Delis worked together in the drug business. During a police raid, Andrew had hidden $3 million, the money he made from selling drugs, inside the old hospital, thinking no one would suspect it. After the fight, Delis contacts his brother, Deco, and tells him to find the money hidden in the abandoned hospital. Deco gathers a team of criminals to go to the hospital, break in, and search for the money. Secretly, Deco plans to betray his brother and keep the money for himself. Meanwhile, Andrew tries to talk to the prison guards, asking to speak with Erickson, but they refuse because Delis controls the guards working for him. Eventually, one of the guards tells Delis that Andrew wants to meet with Erickson, guessing that Andrew is planning to reveal the location of the hidden money. The next day, Erickson goes to prison and finds out that Landro insists on meeting him. Erickson agrees, and they bring Landro into the interrogation cell. Landro tells him about the $3 million he's hidden in the hospital. He says that if Erickson can get him the money, he'll give him all the cash he needs to pay for his daughter's treatment, something Erickson can't afford. As soon as Landro mentions his daughter, Erickson gets furious and hits him. The guards step in and separate them. When Erickson leaves the cell, Landro gets transferred back to the prison hospital. At that point, Erickson starts thinking maybe he should help Landro get the money so he can afford his daughter's treatment. He goes back to the hospital, gets the exact location of the money from Landro, and decides he's going to take it and use it for his daughter. Meanwhile, when Dallas finds out that Landro and Erickson met, he calls his brother and tells him to keep an eye on Erickson to find out where the money is. The next day, Erickson is clearly nervous. He's been an honest worker his whole life and never even accepted bribes like his coworkers did, but now he feels forced to do something he never thought he would, all for his daughter. Erickson packs everything he needs into his bag, including a gun and a flashlight. His daughter, meanwhile, brings over a friend to stay with her at home because the nurse who used to look after her had quit after they stopped paying her salary. Erickson tells his daughter he'll be late at work, leaves the house, and heads out. At the same time, Deco and his crew head to the hospital, tailing Erickson to find out where the money is, just like his brother told him. Meanwhile, Mike is at the hospital helping the workers with the demolition. While working in one of the hospital rooms, he spots a dollar bill on the floor. When he bends down to pick it up, he finds a big bag with black duffel bags inside, stuffed with cash. Mike decides he'll come back after work to grab the bags and the money. The supervisor then tells the workers that today's their last day. They've set dynamite all around the hospital and will blow it up at 5 p.m. After handing out their paychecks, he sends them off. Like every other day, Mike leaves with Diaz. On their way to the bar, Mike remembers he forgot his work badge at the hospital. He tells Diaz he'll go back and grab it, and hands him the dollar bill he found, asking him to buy a ticket while he's gone. Mike sneaks back into the hospital, climbing over the wall so the security guard won't see him. He heads to the room where he found the bags earlier, and finds the $3 million split across 3 duffel bags. Mike gets super excited, feeling like luck is finally on his side. But just as he's celebrating, he hears someone nearby. He quickly grabs the money and tries to sneak out using the stairs. When he looks toward the sound, he sees Erickson, also searching for the money. At that moment, Deco and his crew arrive at the hospital, but the security guard stops them. Deco tells him they're from the company handling the demolition and need to do some maintenance work. The guard warns them that the dynamite is set to go off in 90 minutes, and staying inside is dangerous. The security guard recognizes Kitty, Deco's girlfriend, from a bar downtown, so she distracts him before he can figure out what's really going on. The crew then sneaks into the hospital, racing against time before the explosion. They head up the stairs looking for Erickson and the money. Mike sees them going up and decides to hide the money again, this time on the 8th floor. As he moves, he bumps into a pipe, making a noise. Deco's crew hears it and realizes someone's around. Mike quickly hides the money in a room and watches from the window. He spots Erickson hiding too, still searching for the money. Meanwhile, Diaz shows up at the hospital to check on Mike. As soon as he arrives, Deco and his crew capture him. When they find the dollar bill Mike had given Diaz, they assume Diaz is the one who took the money. Deco starts questioning Diaz about where the cash is, but Diaz insists he doesn't know anything. Deco loses patience and kills Diaz. Mike sees everything and is devastated by his friend's death, but now he knows Deco and his gang are onto him. Determined to get revenge, Mike gears up. One of Deco's men, Manny, goes looking for Mike, but Mike attacks him, knocks his weapon away, beats him down, and throws him down the elevator shaft from the 8th floor, killing him. Just after that, another guy from the gang shows up. Mike manages to fight him off too. But before Mike can catch his breath, 2 more gang members, Kitty and John, show up. They grab Mike and drag him down to the ground floor, planning to force him to hand over the money. But suddenly, Kitty attacks, and he manages to escape from them, jumping into the garbage chute. He makes his way down to the ground floor to hide there. As soon as he reaches the ground floor, Erickson covers Mike's mouth with his hand and uses a tool to question him about the money's location. But Mike tells him he knows nothing about the money. Erickson insists that they have to help each other if they want to get out alive with the money. While Erickson is talking, Mike suddenly attacks him, and they start fighting. Even though Erickson is older, he's still strong and manages to beat Mike until one of the gang members shows up, warning them that whoever moves will be shot. The gang member reports that he found Mike and Erickson in the trash room. While the gang is distracted, Mike and Erickson jump on them and manage to knock them unconscious. They start fighting each other again because Mike still thinks Erickson is part of the gang. Suddenly, James, one of the gang members, attacks them and starts shooting. Both Mike and Erickson run off in different directions. Two of the gang members chase Mike up to his floor. When Mike sees them, he grabs a fire hose and swings out the window to escape. When Deco sees Mike hanging from the hose, he shoots at him, forcing Mike back into the room quickly, where he finds Kitty waiting for him. Kitty threatens to kill him if he moves. At that moment, Erickson hears the gunfire and rushes up to Mike's floor. He sees Kitty threatening Mike and throws a metal pipe at her to distract her toward the window. As Kitty moves closer to the window, Deco mistakenly shoots her, thinking she's Mike. Kitty dies, and Deco is devastated. He then decides to kill both Mike and Erickson. At that moment, Erickson asks Mike to cooperate so they can survive. Erickson notices that Mike is injured in his arm and quickly bandages it with a piece of cloth to stop the bleeding until they can escape the building. Meanwhile, another gang member shows up, but Mike shoots him dead. Erickson tells Mike they have to run before Deco finds them and before the dynamite explodes, which is set to go off in 30 minutes. Mike, however, refuses and demands that Erickson tell him why he's in the hospital and why he's after the money. Erickson tells him about his daughter. She's seriously ill and needs major surgery. In order to afford the surgery, he agreed to help a criminal retrieve some hidden money from the hospital. Erickson explains that the scarf he wrapped around his hand belongs to his daughter. At that moment, his daughter calls him, and he realizes he has to survive for her. Mike, feeling sympathetic, gives Erickson one of the 3 money bags so he can pay for his daughter's surgery. They then decide to escape through the back exit. With only 10 minutes left before the hospital explodes, they head for the stairs. But before they reach the stairwell, Deco and John show up and start shooting at them. Mike and Erickson dodge the bullets and reach the back door. Erickson runs to the door to break the lock while Mike covers him from the gunfire. Erickson successfully breaks the lock and opens the stairwell, calling Mike over to escape. However, the heavy gunfire keeps Mike pinned down, and he tells Erickson to go on without him so he can save his daughter. Erickson quickly runs down the stairs and escapes the hospital. Suddenly, John attacks Erickson, but Erickson shoots him dead. Erickson jumps into a car and drives off fast, with only 30 seconds left before the hospital blows up. Meanwhile, Mike is still upstairs facing Deco. Mike runs out of bullets and decides to fight Deco hand to hand. He throws a bag of money at Deco's face to blind him, and then charges at him. Mike successfully tackles Deco to the ground, thinking he's finally won. But Deco suddenly grabs Mike by the neck and starts choking him. As Mike is about to lose consciousness, he remembers a similar moment from his past when he was trying to return to martial arts. He gathers all his strength, strikes Deco hard, throws one of the 2 remaining bags at him, and runs off. Mike rushes down the back stairs just before the hospital explodes. When he reaches the 4th floor, he sees Erickson waiting below with the car. Erickson yells for Mike to jump, and without hesitation, Mike jumps onto the car. Erickson drives off fast, escaping just in time. Meanwhile, Deco is distracted by the bag of money Mike left for him, completely forgetting about the explosion. He stays on the rooftop and gets caught in the massive blast when the hospital explodes. All the gang members die, and Mike and Erickson successfully escape and save themselves from the explosion. Erickson goes on to get his daughter the surgery she needs, while Mike heads to his friend Diaz's house. There, Mike leaves part of the money for Diaz's wife as compensation for his death. Afterward, Mike moves to a new city to start a fresh life. And that's the end of the movie. If you liked the film, give us a thumbs up, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.